All right. Hey, everyone. We are back today with Michael Maddaus for another agency live stream. Michael, we are really excited to connect with you today. From what I've seen, you've worn many hats throughout your career, starting off with the U.S. Navy, later attending medical school. I see that you did surgical residency, time with research. And it looks like lately you've been more focused on speaking. And I've also seen that you've written a review, the Resilience Bank Account for or Skills for Optimal Performance, which is in the process of being published. Is that correct?
No, it just published in January. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So very
Yeah.
exciting stuff. So kind of on that note, why don't you start off by, sharing with our viewers today, what your message is and where your passion developed.
Well, it's a story, but my message is that all of us, we grow up in a way blind to what our personal operating system becomes over time. And by personal operating system, I mean kind of the habits that we assume and adopt over time. And most of us, we don't pick our genes, we don't pick our parents, we don't pick where we grow up. And I'm not even sure we really pick our careers often. I mean, that we sort of stumble into them often, instead of being very deliberate about it. And even the choice, if you think it's a choice, is driven by a whole range of things that the influences of which you may not even be aware of, parents, history of the family. I mean, just a multitude of factors. And so, you get into your career, and over time, you've adopted ways of thinking and habits that are, born of your genetics, born of how you were treated as a child and how you grew up, your school, and then your career certainly has a huge impact. Lawyer, entrepreneur, in my case, surgeon, that had a massive influence on the kinds of habits and the way I saw the world. And so I came to a crisis point in my life where I had to really do a reevaluation of what I would call my personal operating system, and had to assume some new habits and ways of thinking that were ultimately very beneficial to me. So that's basically my message, and that's what the paper is about.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
I love that too, because thinking about it, you were saying how we stumble into everything. And it is true. Like, I mean, just kind of thinking back to like me growing up, it was very like we went to school, then you went to college, there wasn't really much time to think of like what you wanted to do. It just, this was the way you went to
What to
university.
do.
And I mean, I kind of, with what you said about decisions and things that happen in your life, how you kind of then get thrown into different situations. I mean, I went to school for city planning and thought I was going to go work for a city. And then I had my daughter and I was like, now it's time to kind of take that situation and run with it and see how I can make, myself more available, but at the same time, also have a career and make it more adaptable to my lifestyle.
Right.
So very cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So, your passion developed for this over your career in the medical profession, correct?
No, I've always been keen. So, there's another sort of nuance here, and that is, I ended up as a surgeon, and I was really a great surgeon. I mean, and I'm not saying that with a big ego. I just was. And I say it because there's an irony to it. The irony is that although I enjoyed it a great deal and I was good at it, what I really loved is the stuff I'm doing now. And I was very involved in resident education, and I worked hard on self-development and stuff with residents, and that was a sideline activity for me. And now I'm doing something that was really much more, is much more meaningful to me, and has always been sort of a current in me, as long as I can remember. But I hadn't really pursued that as a career. So I think a lot of us in these various careers in life, again, just like the habits we adopt, we just sort of end up in these places without really interrogating, what's inside, and really trying to figure that stuff out.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, I mean, as an example, in terms of the habits, so, I was in a really bad, unlike you, I was in a very dysfunctional, alcoholic, violence prone household. I was on the streets, arrested 24 times, in and out of reform schools, dropped out of high school, clawed my way up into medical school, and then surgical residency. And then in surgical residency, it was, right now they have 80-hour work weeks, but back then it was even more brutal in terms of the number of hours you worked and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was really, a survival of the fittest sort of paradigm. And so the habits that I was inculcated with during that residency training were, say yes to everything, self-sufficiency, discipline, these are great habits. And then you say yes to everything is not a great habit, but the discipline is a great habit, self-sufficiency. And you also learn emotional labor, which is pretending you're okay when you're not, because you had to constantly. And so those became like core elements of my operating system. And by the time I hit 55, I was lonely and miserable. These things that served me so well to make a tremendous success of my career. Full professor, endowed chair, huge practice, program director of the surgical training program. There I was at 55, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me? I got all this stuff, but I'm just not happy, inside, and I couldn't put my finger on it, So that's kind of where it was from there. And then I had big back surgery and hip replacements because exercise has always been a key part of my stress relief program. And so after all those surgeries, I had a pain guy that fed me as much narcotics as I wanted, and I got addicted to narcotics. And that was the crisis that led to, because I just never thought that would happen to me with my discipline and all that stuff. And it just, it led to a period where I went into treatment and I had a few months off, and it caused me to really reflect about, what in the hell was this about and why? And so that's when I came to start to, think about these things and what was missing from the original operating system that, that I needed. And it took a good while to figure that out, but that's the genesis of the entire paradigm that I've come up with about personal operating system.
That's amazing though. And I mean, it's true. A lot of us though, we don't take the time to kind of look around and, is this where I want to be, and how to go about making those changes. And the fact that, you were able to recognize that and make those changes and just kind of start something completely fresh is amazing. And it's very brave and inspiring. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, but I had to go through hell to get there. And, the problem is when I was sort of miserable and I didn't know what was going on, I had so much around me. And I think this is a problem that a lot of people get into. They've built this structure up around them. They got a secure job, money, all these things. And if it ain't right, if you're not feeling right, it takes a huge amount of courage to say, I got to change things. All right. It's not easy. So, for me, it took a bit of a crisis, and that was a period that, led to the changes that I did.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you're currently working on? We'd love to get a deeper look into your platform and a little bit.
My big push right now, first, I've started blogging and writing about things. And my approach is to, so in terms of the operating system, I mentioned some of the habits that I had before, but the things that I had stumbled onto, and they're kind of interesting stories. There I am, a surgeon, and I came across a video on gratitude. And, I was like, gratitude, well, I'm going to have a gratitude journal and write in it a few times every day. I just didn't think that was anything that was strong enough to make any difference in my life. But the video was about a study, and it was very moving emotionally. And when I finished watching it, and my daughter had sent it to me, I actually dug up the references because, I'm an academic surgeon. So I dug the references up and studied the science behind this, and I was just blown away. And bottom line, that led me to going to all sorts of retreats on mindfulness and self-compassion. And so, here I am, a male, ex-juvenile delinquent, got tattoos, surgeon, thoracic surgeon, and I'm sitting in these retreats with mostly women. Many of them are psychologists, meditating and doing all this stuff. So, it's like a fish out of water, to put it mildly, all right? But it was really an incredible learning experience for me, and it opened up a side of me, a gentler, softer, kind of more heart approach to side. And for me, I think the thing that I'm keen on is actually looking at the science of these things and basing, my decisions about what I'm going to add to my operating system, based on scientific, information. And so that's my thing. And, it's gratitude, self-compassion, and then connection with others, in our current modern climate, loneliness is at epidemic proportions. We're distracted constantly, by a million and one things that we say yes to and electronics.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter just came back from a trip with a group of her high school friends, and they were on a bus. And for one bus ride, and this is like 4 or 5 hours on the bus, for one bus ride, they could have their phones. Then they took it away on a separate long part of the segment.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is talking, having a great time. Whereas with the phones, nobody's talking, And my daughter was just so amazed at the difference that transpired. And that was kind of my situation. I was working so much and I was so busy. What was really going on with me is that I was lonely and disconnected from myself and other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part of that for me was the missing part of my operating system. And so what I'm working on now is, trying to spread that message that there are things that are vital to us that are based on our human heritage evolutionarily.
Yeah.
And we need to pay attention to those. And I've kind of drilled down as a surgeon about the way to do that in a way that's, effective and efficient. So I joined Heroic Public Speaking. I've always given a lot of talks as an academic surgeon, but I really wanted to bump my game up dramatically in my ability to speak with more passion and more skill to convey this message. And Heroic Public Speaking has been a tremendous thing for me. So I joined that. It's a year-long program to improve my public speaking skills. So that's my main push right now, is to do that. And I'm speaking a lot more than I had on this topic. So
Very exciting. And that's actually how you met Amber, correct? Through Heroic?
it is, here I am, a previous academic surgeon. I mean, I've done none of this kind of stuff, website, none of these kinds of things. And so, I'm literally just figuring out every little thing as I go along. And I think I'd hired somebody to do a website. And it was just, all I got was, well, just send us what you want on it and we'll basically put it up. Right. So there was no interaction or help at all. And I was really struggling with that. And then they recommended Amber through Heroic Public Speaking. And thank God, because I don't know. And I say that not just because I'm talking to you, it's actually true. I mean, if I hadn't discovered her, I don't know where I'd be. And of course, a website, like everything, will evolve over time. But the beauty of what Amber and you guys offered was a really integrated personal approach where you really tried to understand what I was about and get that onto the website platform. And that was so meaningful to me because, I needed that kind of help to be able to translate that. And you guys knew how to, take that kind of, pot full of things and make something quite nice out of it.
Well, thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Compliments are something that we do not take lightly. And we're just so happy that we had the privilege of working with you and helping to get your message out in a better, clearer way. I know, I've talked to some other people who have had kind of similar situations where they just, don't feel that connection. And that's something that Amber is so big on, is that personal connection and really making sure that, we understand your message clearly, that communication is always open, that you guys are always staying up to date. Was there any certain step or throughout the process that really stuck out to you, or was it just?
Yeah, I'd probably say I don't like to call them forms, but the process by which you send out forms that are quite detailed about, things that we have to fill out. And that blew me away because it was a fairly in-depth. You had to work at it. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, my name's Mike Maddaus and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you had to fill them out and you had to really think, and it gets at the heart of what your message is about and what you want to do. And so that was great. I mean, it was sort of hard work, but it was great. And I understood then that you guys, cared about representing what I was really about in an accurate way in the website.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And everyone for who is viewing or joining us today, we will be dropping Michael's website link in the comment section after this live stream. That way you can go over, you can browse, check out more on his messaging, his branding, and how his website has come together.
The other thing I just like to mention is the service piece. And I've always been a it's a big deal to me to get great service. And you guys are, again, I'm just saying this. Nobody's told me, can you say any good things about it? I mean, you guys are fantastic. You're responsive, you care, you want to make it right. I mean, every little detail is just perfect.
Well, thank you. Like I said, we really do appreciate hearing that kind of feedback. And I know it's something that everyone on the team, from Amber to Todd to myself to, other people in different departments of our company, we're all very, big on what your experience is. Obviously, we want you to have a positive experience and make sure that the services we're providing are, top notch, and that you feel supported throughout the way.
You are. So yeah, for sure.
Thank you. So, if we do have some viewers that are with us today who could be, possibly on the fence, maybe they've been with us kind of watching from, the back row, kind of figuring out if they want to move forward or not, what would you say to them?
If you want a website, do it.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. You will waste more money, more time, more screwing around with other things. Now, if you just want a place just to park your name and set up some simple things, then great, you could probably do that on your own. But I struggled with Squarespace. I was trying that. I mean, WordPress, I was doing all that stuff. And, I'm not computer illiterate. I mean, I'm, fairly facile with things, but it just wasn't a good use of my time. I had other things to do. And so it's simple. If you want to get it off your back and have it done right and then maintained properly, and you want to make changes that are instituted rapidly because of the way the team responds.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing process. It's not just putting it up and okay, now you're done with it. So it's really simple. Just do it.
Awesome. Thank you. So what are some of your long-term goals, and how can we help support you to get your message out in a bigger way?
Well, my big, I want to continue the speaking thing. So my big next year plan is to really, develop a more robust speaking platform and writing platform. I want to write a book, and so that's, kind of next up once I at least get to a point with the speaking thing. I want to write about this. And beyond that, I am not sure, I'm 65, so maybe I shouldn't make too many long-term goals. Maybe send over a wheelchair. I don't know. You can support me with that.
Oh my goodness. Well, we would love to continue to, keep supporting you. So as, some of those goals do come to fruition, we would love to showcase them and share them with our audience. So I will keep an eye out, and, as we see you, developing more of your speaking platform, and when that book comes along, we'd love to share that with our viewers as well.
Great. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you would like to add or share with us today, Michael?
No, I think we've covered a nice bit of territory here. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you joining me today. I did have a fantastic time getting to know more about you, more about your story, and what we can expect to see from you in the future. So if you are someone who is like Michael and you're wanting to get your presence and message out in a more professional, well-packaged way, I know that Amber and our team would love to have a conversation with you, no pressure whatsoever. You can always head over to our website too, which is ngenterprises.com. We do offer our pricing menu right there on the site, so you can download it, full transparency, and see if it is the best decision of moving forward for you. And also, we do offer a program called Leverage to Scale, which is a marketing assistance program. It will train either yourself or someone on your team to do all of your baseline marketing for you. Again, that website is leveragetoscale.com. So I will be dropping both of those links in the comment section below, in addition to Michael's website. But in the meantime, just wanted to say thank you again, Michael, for hanging with us. And for the rest of you guys, just remember, no guts, no glory. We'll see you next time.
Great pleasure. Thank you. Bye, Kim.
Bye-bye.